A very good evening to the participants from India and good afternoon to the participants from UK. On behalf of Indian School of Commerce, it's my privilege to invite the panelist, the moderator, alumni and participants to the webinar, Future of Accounting Profession Post-COVID-19. Our panelists are Mr. Nidhish Singh, Vice President, JP Morgan Chase & Company, will be joining with us any moment. Mr. Niranjan Raman, Executive Director, Audit, Pricewaterhouse Chartered Accountants LLP, and Mr. Ren Verma, Head Partnerships, Emerging Markets, ACCA. Our moderator is Mr. Milind B Date, Director, Learning and Development, ISDC. We also have with us our alumni, Abel Matthew Rajan, Audit Senior, EY UK, Prema Prasannan, Finance Analyst, AstraZeneca UK, Abdul Fazil, Accountant General, Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority, UAE, and Syed Mohammad Niroz, Assurance Associate, EY Kochi. We also have about 1,000 students who have joined as participants. Welcome all. Over to the moderator, please.
Thank you very much, Bindu, for that kind introduction and the welcome address. And I wholeheartedly welcome the entire team of the panelists as well as alumni to this wonderful gathering in which we are going to deliberate upon the most pertinent issue of modern times, and that is about how the accounting profession is likely to change in a post-COVID scenario. I, being the moderator, what I'll actually do is to give it a kickstart and then request the panel members to come and share their ideas, post which the alumni will share their ideas, and in the end, we will pick up the questions, which will be, again looked at by Bindu, and she would post the questions to the respective panelists, and then we will close the session. So that's the flow of the events today. Well, everyone knows that accounting primarily is nothing but a language of business. And the moment the business keeps changing, accordingly, accounting as a language, as well as accounting as a profession, has got to change. And over the last several centuries, we have been evidencing a huge change in the profession of accounting to its modern days. And I may say, therefore, that even today, we are still evolving the accounting profession as such as we are progressing ahead. What's happening today is the entire world has experienced some of the unforeseen situations of the modern times. I don't think this present generation, as well as the millennials, they were not witness to any such kind of a world pandemic situation which has struck the economies of all the world countries ever since, I think, the Second World War. And many of us were definitely not even born then. So when we are facing such a scenario, certain things are very unclear. Number one, whether the impact of this pandemic, COVID-19, is going to be short-lived or it's going to create a medium to long-term impact. And look, we were already evidencing waves of change in accounting profession and its linkage now with the technology. And I think, therefore, it's necessary for us to make sure that we bring in the topic of the most relevant aspect in front of you all, those who are actually budding to be accounting professionals of future, those who have actually entered the accounting profession just a couple of years ago, and those who are experienced in this field with over 10 to 15 years of experience overall. So it's a lovely gathering, I would say, that from aspirants to experienced, that's the kind of a reach of the team that we are going to have for the discussions today. And this webinar is being organized by the Indian School of Commerce, which is a renowned institution in India as well as abroad now, which is imparting education in various domains like finance, business, logistics, supply chain, transportation, etc. And what it does is it collaborates with institutions and foreign uh, professional accounting bodies to bring in the best in class education to India and India's aspiring students. So, with this background, let me invite Mr. Niranjan Raman to begin his talk on what he feels about how the accounting profession, number one, is affected by COVID in particular, but post COVID scenario, how the situation is going to unfold and what care the accounting professionals would need to take. Over to Mr. Niranjan Raman.
Thank you very much, Milind and the entire ISC team for having us over here. It is a very contemporary and interesting topic that we'll be touching upon today, as you rightly said. And I've been in the accounting profession, I must say, for a little over 20 years. And I've seen various kinds of disruptions happening, during my entire professional career and the years that I've been here. But I must say that the impact of COVID-19, as we are seeing, is something which is unprecedented. It is something which I'm sure any of our earlier generation would not have seen magnitude. And it's something which I'm not sure if such a thing might ever again come up. So, given that context, I think, as you rightly said, looking at the impact on the accounting profession is something very relevant for this kind of a COVID. Now looking. Okay, I think there's a bit of echoing. Is it okay? Yeah, seems to be fine now. Yeah. So now looking at the accounting profession, what are some of the big changes which have happened even pre-COVID in the last, let's say, about 2 decades, I might say. I think there are 2-3 very dominant changes that we've been witnessing in the last couple of decades. One is to do with the convergence of gap across different countries and globally to get into one codified framework, which largely is IFRS. But of course, US GAAP continues to exist. And there is a lot of conscious effort to even bridge and converge the US GAAP and IFRS together. And there have been a lot of standards which have been issued by the standard setters, both in the United States as well as on the European side, which primarily drives IFRS, to try and converge on how you get to accounting in a similar way. As Milind rightly said, accounting is at the end of the day a language in which you speak and you put across your business to the various stakeholders. And if there are different languages being used in different countries, that obviously becomes very confusing. And that's the reason why there is a lot of effort and initiative to try and converge and speak the same language irrespective of the geographic borders. So I think that's one very important thing which happened before COVID started. A second thing that happened was that there is a lot more emphasis beyond accounting, as all of us call it, in the accounting profession. I think the term which has come into vogue is financial reporting rather than just accounting. And that's obviously evident in the fact that what used to be called as International Accounting Standards, or IAS, was renamed as IFRS, right, or the International Financial Reporting Standards. And what's the reason for it? It's primarily because of moving beyond just accounting, which was very closely associated with bookkeeping, passing your debit credit entries, and emphasizing a lot more on certain aspects like the disclosures you need to make, the transparency you need to achieve, and the comparability which needs to be there in different geographies and across different industries. So that was a very important initiative, which led to the upsurge of IFRS and its adoption as a globally relevant and qualitative standard in various countries. So I might say this first one was about convergence, and second one was about moving beyond just accounting into a financial reporting domain. Another very important change that we've been witnessing, and as I always tell people, is that accounting has moved beyond debits and credits, right? Because when all of us probably got into the profession, one of the first things that we learned, and we continue to learn, is accounting means debit and credit. You pass an entry with one leg in debit and the other in credit, and it has to balance out, and all the way it goes up to your balance sheet. All that's fine. It's always going to be relevant and important. But when I say accounting is beyond debit credit, what does it mean? The fact is that there is a lot more emphasis on concepts of valuation today, right? So accounting does go beyond beyond debit credits to the domain of valuation, because to the extent that you have the numbers which go against your debit credit, those are more important. There's this huge drive in the IFRS world to ensure that your numbers are relevant and reliable. And what does relevant mean? It should be relevant in today's context, right? Now, because of COVID, we're having various changes in the way the markets operate, the way the regulators operate, the way competition operates, and that impacts our numbers. And whatever impacts our numbers, if it's presented in the most relevant manner for today's environment, then I think that's the expectation and that's the requirement of the stakeholders to enable their decision making. Because at the end of the day, let's not forget the fact that the end result of accounting and a set of financial statements is to facilitate decision making by the various stakeholders. So the third point I wanted to make was that in this reporting process, as you put in the numbers, historically, pulling out a number used to be quite easy in the sense that you just see, okay, what's the cash that's gone out, or what's the cash that I'm going to get in, and account an entry pretty much on that basis. But today the move is more towards fair valuation, as all of us know, right? And fair valuation has a very big role to play in the IFRS or Ind AS world, which we have in India today. So that's where I said that accounting goes a lot beyond debit credit, because it's very easy to plug in a debit credit entry, but the subjectivity and the judgment and the real application of some scientific skills are in determining those numbers using a fair valuation methodology. And of course, the standards do have a lot of guidance on how this fair valuation methodology has to be applied. So I think these are some of the changes which have already happened, and it's good for us that it happened in the last 2 decades, and that makes us much better prepared today for a COVID kind of an environment. So that's one point we should all know. Now, what's going to happen post-COVID? I think considering the short duration of the session, we've got just about an hour and probably 10 to 15 minutes for each speaker. I'm not sure if I'd be able to do full justice, but just a few thoughts which I had noted down and happy to share here. So post-COVID, of course, all these will continue to be very relevant. And all these, from just becoming, conceptual discussions, will actually have to be implemented in practice. And that will require a lot of skilling up of people. And I'm sure that's where institutions like ISC play a very important role. There are courses like the ACCA where I think there is a lot of upskilling of people in terms of what the current thinking in the accounting world is. And it's great that all of you are on that track to be there. But how is it going to be post-COVID? So some of the very relevant things that we've been seeing today in the market is the emphasis on the disclosures, is the emphasis on the fair valuation, as I mentioned. And that's because all of us have been seeing how the markets have actually been moving in the last couple of months, right? Or maybe the last quarter, with respect to the impact that COVID can have and is having on businesses. So some of the very important points to bear in mind is transparency. A lot of regulators, a lot of standard setters have globally issued various advisories on how to be transparent and ensure you have the good qualitative disclosures coming in your financial statements. I think that's very important because at the end of the day, that's what helps the readers of financial statements to be able to judge the how robust is your business model and how well can you perform in the long run. Now, I think there are also other aspects which COVID is going to impact, like, for example, how auditors do their audit. And I'm a person who's currently into more of accounting advisory services, but I have a solid audit background for almost 1.5 decades. And I think the very challenging times for auditors are that even the auditors are having to comment a lot on the judgment that goes into preparing the financial statement. Uh, as all of us know, audits do involve specific audit procedures, like, for example, physical verification of inventory, which may turn out to be a bit of a challenge in this kind of an environment where it's practically difficult for people to go out, for managements to actually conduct the verification of inventory. So how are these going to be resolved, right? So some of these are all being addressed by the various professional regulatory bodies, including the Institute of Chartered Accountants in India, and I'm sure bodies like ACCA, and also the various regulators. Of course, one has been the extension of timelines that people have had, but that's a very temporary and short-term thing. But what's the long-term impact of this going to be? I think my answer to that question is that there will be a lot of emphasis on digitization, on using technology much more efficiently and effectively. We've known as auditors people who've gone out and done inventory verification using digital technology, right? So clients show all the inventories in the various locations to the auditors virtually by doing a video call. And there is a lot of debate today whether auditors can use that as as an appropriate audit evidence if they've seen something virtually, and how do they document it. But yeah, these are times when the profession is as a whole learning new things, and to some of these there may not be a right or a wrong answer at this point in time. And I'm sure a year or 3 years or 5 years down the line, in hindsight, people are going to say that you could have done this better. But then there are certain very important principles and values that an auditor also needs to stick to. Like, for example, a very high degree of professional skepticism, a very elevated level of professional judgment, which he should be able to exercise. So that's something which I think is also proving to be quite a few challenges in the auditing worlds. As all of you may know, the auditors are also required to give, in case of listed companies or public companies, a section in their audit report called Key Audit Matters, or CAM. And some of the current topics, which are hot topics, I would say, which are under discussion in the COVID environment, are about things like going concern. Will companies be able to survive beyond the next 12 months? Primarily because liquidity is proving to be a big issue for a lot of industries and a lot of companies. So how can they survive? What kind of measures are they taking is one very important and relevant disclosure that companies need to make. So going concern is one of the things that the auditors are looking out for. The other thing, as I mentioned to you, is around the valuations, the valuation of the various assets that companies may be carrying on the balance sheet, of the various assets and liabilities that they may be carrying. And I think that's also an area where the auditors are being very cautious and highlighting specific matters on the audit reports that they issue, right? So I've just tried to summarize in about say 10 minutes what are the key issues or what are the key developments that are happening on the accounting profession. It could be as accountants or as auditors. And I'll probably hand it over to Nidhish at this point in time, and happy to take questions at the end of the session. I think which will also have some time reserved. Over to you, Nidhish.
Thanks a lot, Raman, for your invaluable inputs and insights into what are likely changes that are going to be seen and witnessed by the accounting profession all over the world in the post-COVID-19 scenario. Let me now bring in Mr. Nidhish Singh. Now that he's already joined with us, he had some issues of technology, and I'm sure that is one of the points which he would like to pick up in his insights into changes in the accounting profession beyond or post COVID-19. So, Mr. Nidhish Singh, please. You can unmute yourself and start speaking. Please unmute your mic, Mr. Nidhish. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Nidhish, please go on.
Sorry, I was not able to hear. Can you please repeat the question?
No, it was not a question. It's your thoughts on the changes that are upcoming in the post-COVID-19, with specific reference to how accounting and technology are going hand in hand is going to pose some challenges.
Okay. So in terms of the changes that we foresee during COVID and after COVID-19 is there'll be completely different way of working. So far as now, we have seen a lot of concern about the security, safety of the data, compliance and controls while employees were working from offices even. So a lot of firewall was maintained. Fast forward now, we see we are working from home and those concerns are alleviated. Hence, in the future, we will see more sort of a trend when employee will be allowed to work from home. There will be a lot more flexibility in that regard, because they can manage the work and life probably better. They can choose their own timing, and there will be a lot of flexibility. Secondly, we also see, since virtual team and collaboration becoming more important, the diversity of employees across different countries, across different towns will be a lot more than it used to be, because the workforce will not be restricted in one particular town and city, and it is going to be more so for accounting and finance profession as well, because a lot of work can be done just from home on the system, just like we see for IT and technological firms. So accounting and finance industry, BPO, KPO and related industry is going to change, and there will be structural changes as well. People can work from different towns and cities. A lot more emphasis on the technological innovation will be there, because we need to have more technological advancement for people to work from home, and that will also flourish. There will be different type of cultural changes that will be required, because we cannot have same kind of command and control system that used to be. Employee will require more flexibility and trust while working from home. So so there is a need for entire cultural changes in the HR practices in order to enable the future of accounting profession as well. So that means we will be more versatile. There will be better resiliency in case of any other disaster taking place in the future. And we have been talking about the BCP and other RTO definition that is already tested, and we are going to face
I think we've just lost him. It seems he has lost his connection. We'll come back to Mr. Nidhish Singh when he rejoins us back. But in the meanwhile, let me now go to Mr. Ranjit Verma, who is the head of partnerships working at ACCA in the UK, and real stalwart, of the profession. Uh, uh, you have heard both Mr. Raman as well as briefly, though, Mr. Nidhish Singh. I would like you to highlight in what way ACCA, as a professional accounting body, trying to bring in the changes within the uh, ACCA qualification to so as to make the accounting professionals come in terms with the expected changes in the world, that reduces the gap between industry and academia on one hand, and also makes the accounting profession progressive enough. Mr. Ren.
Thank you, Milind. Hope you can. I'm audible.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
It was very interesting to listen to Niranjan and Nidhish, though it was short with Nidhish due to technology challenges. However, so I do agree with Niranjan when he said was that disruption of such scale we have never faced such kind of a disruption in such a big scale. I mean, which has changed the entire, way in which everything has changed, like in the way in which we work, our approach to business, etc. And one of the emerging ideas that was coming out was that technology would be leading the way. And probably Niranjan and Nidhish would agree with me. So nowadays, employers are expecting employees that can add value from day one. And in the finance arena, professionals that have a broad range of capabilities, from supporting business to manage risk, develop growth strategies, etc. And of course, ensuring that all of these skills come with strong ethics and professional judgment. And with these changes, one thing that I can say is that ACCA has always ensured that our qualification is market relevant, and so we have done in-depth research and continues to do so amongst employers around the globe and C-suite professionals to identify what are the key competencies or the technical knowledge and measurable skills that employers are looking for from a candidate. So this competency framework is used to develop our qualification to ensure that ACCA remains market relevant. And also we strive to strengthen and support the profession as a whole, in addition to supporting the career development of finance professionals within the workplace. So students gain these 12 competencies by the time they complete the ACCA qualification. This they do through a combination of exams, experience, and ethics. We call it the 3 E's. So one of the key competencies that we focus on is technology and digital, and it's very much relevant from what we have heard from Niranjan and Nidhish has said. Like, it's very much relevant, and that's the way in which the world is moving on to. Technology and digital would be leading the way we work. So the ACCA qualification actually progressively develops a students and members' digital and technology knowledge, and also builds the skills to analyze and evaluate and financial as well as non-financial data, while displaying a clear understanding of the not just in the professional, right from the applied skills level to strategic professional level. So ACCA, so we assess the students and teach them through real life case study examples of varying digital and data technology capabilities and opportunities with different types of businesses. So some of the topics, that we cover in the strategic professional level are, for example, technology and data analytics, cloud and mobile technology, big data and data analytics, business value chain, IT system security and control. So in addition, one of the things that, we've got a lot of alumni who have completed the ACCA qualification, and so they would agree to it. So most of our exams up to applied skills level, we do assess using way of computer-based examinations, and we are currently in the process of rolling out CB exams, computer-based exams at the strategic professional level as well. In India, we are looking at rolling it out next year, early next year. So, hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
It's audible very much, yeah.
Okay. So that's what, so I just wanted to say that our ACCA qualification is, we've ensured that it is very much market relevant, and also the qualification would definitely support the students and future members to face the new normal. Thank you, Milind.
Thanks a lot, Ren. I think it was wonderful listening to the two sides, one from the industry perspective that Niranjan and Nidhish spoke about, and how ACCA is coming closer to the expectations raised by the industry. I think that's the combination that is going to work wonder in the post-COVID scenario, which I'm sure about. And the marriage of technical accounting knowledge and financial reporting knowledge in terms of standards on accounting and auditing are getting mingled with the use of technology in the coming periods. That is what these students must be able to cope up with, and they need to develop skills which are 360 degrees rather than restricting themselves only onto the accounting techniques as such. So rather than me talking about it, I think is the best if I could let people who matter the most today talk about it, and these are the millennials. These are the alumni of ISC in one way or the other, yeah, and they have been doing pretty well in their careers, which have begun just maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. So while on experience count in terms of number of years, they may be lesser than the others, but I'm sure so far as the relevance point of view, they're very well connected with the demands of the pressuring corporate world of the day. So I would like to invite the set of alumni that we have today with us. And my first invitation goes to Abel Matthew. Hi, Abel. Would you please share your thoughts on the changes, as well as very briefly your experience with ISC? Abel Matthew.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you, Milind. The presenters have already touched based on the impact of COVID over accountants on a broader sense. So I'll just be precise with my expertise in audit as well. I mean, we know that the COVID has been impacting or disrupting the industry all over. But I mean, I should say that the audit profession has been least impacted thanks to the technology. Audit profession being the profession that adds that trust factor to the finance industry has always been relevant, and it has been minimum disruption in the field. Just to touch base, like what Niranjan has already shared, the post-COVID changes that we see now is that auditors are or need to be more focused or more skeptical on the going concern aspect of the companies, because most of the industries are facing disruption, they are facing difficulties, the recession is expected. So the auditors are more skeptical on the going concern concepts these days. Similarly, we are also now focused on the impairment of assets to see whether the value in use of an asset will be able to recover the value that is being shown in the financial statements. So from an auditing perspective, yes, we need to do more work post-COVID because of the challenges that the industries are facing. A second impact that I've seen in my work is with the project management, because for auditors, it's mostly field work. We need to go out to the client, we need to do audit at the client business. But during this lockdown period, we have been working from home, and the project management aspect has been a challenge. But yeah, thanks to the technology, like all these has helped us to manage audit pretty much well. I am currently doing 2 audits which are completely virtual, where I have not met my audit team at all. It's all on Teams call. I have not met my client. It's all over conference calls and discussions that we manage our audit. A third impact that I see is obviously because we are foreseeing a recession, we are facing some pressure from the clients to reduce our fees. So obviously we need to be efficient as an audit firm as well. So there is a lot more pressure on digital audit to apply the data analytics and aspects like that. And I think Ren Verma has already mentioned that ACCA is providing trainings on data analytics and digital GAMs, which is absolutely the need of the hour now for us to be competent in a world where there'll be pressure for us to be efficient as well. With regard to my experience in ISE and the ACCA qualification, yeah, ACCA qualification is very relevant in this world just because it's based on IFRS and ISAs. IFRS, like Niranjan has mentioned, is IFRS along with the US GAAP are the most updated accounting standards. So a student who's doing ACCA qualified is obviously going to be one step ahead in the industry because of their key knowledge on IFRS and US GAAP. So that has immensely helped me all over my career. I've been working with ENY in Dubai. It has been, the IFRS is applied there extensively. I've just recently moved in the UK. It's extensively used in here as well. So ACCA qualification has been definitely the key for my career progression. My experience with ISE, yes, the teaching quality is absolutely wonderful. Milind itself has taught me my final papers, and I the value that I've got, the value addition I've got is immense. And ISE always goes one step ahead when it comes to supporting the students. Another aspect that I like about ISE is the other platforms that they give, like the paper presentation seminar they conduct during the International Accountants Day, the Ashwa Festival. These are all platforms for the students to develop their other interpersonal skills, because like in this virtual world, yes, if you're good with your work, you're good, but you still need to have interpersonal skill. You need to be good in your communication skills, your collaboration skills, just to be in touch with the client and get the work done. So I think the platforms that ISE gives a greater opportunity for students to develop these skills as well, which will help in their career. I think the third topic that I was asked to talk about is to provide some guidance to the students of how to crack this papers like ACCA. Like I did my papers in ISE, I completed all of my papers in my first attempt. The key is very simple: stay committed, stay focused, revise the topics, prepare short notes, and understand the concept rather than, qualifying the exam is always the key, but it is equally important to acquire the knowledge and understand the concepts behind it. That's all from me, Milind.
Great, Abel. Thanks for sharing this. And yes, I do remember a lot of exciting times with you discussing various issues in the class. Great. Now, let me invite Prima Prasannan with her thoughts on the post-COVID-19 scenario. What are you doing? Because while Abel was representing the auditors, I think Prima is representing the other side of the table. So let's hear from us. It's very, very relevant. Prima.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And first of all, thank you for inviting me today. Yes, Abel has more of an ACCA background, and I'm a CIMA qualified. So my experience is not in audit, but more of a commercial background is what I have, more of a finance business partnering kind of a role. thankfully, I work for AstraZeneca, which is a pharmaceuticals company. So COVID-19 on our financial papers have been quite positive rather than negative. With we're in the verge of finding a COVID-19 vaccine, provided trials work out positive. So from a financial perspective, from AstraZeneca's point of view, it's been quite positive. But around the world, you can see this massive impact. It's not just for accountants, but anybody for that matter. If you're self-employed, whether you own your own business or whatever it is, there's a massive impact. And it's about how we cope with the changes, and it's been different for us as well. Working at an office, talking to people in person is very different from probably doing a 9 to 5 job where you have 5 hours where you're speaking virtually to people. And I think technology like Zoom and Microsoft Teams, where you can actually see people in person, make sure you have your cameras on, and you can actually see people in person, kind of reduces the impact that this kind of scenario has. But on the positive side, I also think that working from home is something I've enjoyed personally at this extensive scale. I have a daughter who's 1 year old, and to be able to take my little breaks with her is a plus point. So there's always the good and the bad, and that's one thing I've always felt. And I think before COVID-19, ACCA, CIMA platforms have always been talking about something like called artificial intelligence, and how that's taking away a lot of our jobs. And today we're talking about COVID-19 and how that is taking away a lot of our jobs. And I think to combine both the topics together, in a sense, it's about how you can add value to the business or wherever you're working, whether it's a small business or a large organization, and how in spite of all of this, how as professional accountants, the fact that you have a professional qualification in hand, how you can use that to add value to your business. So, and that's one thing I always, and think makes ACCA, CIMA, and all the professional qualifications stand out, is because, like what was previously mentioned, it's very employer ready. I mean, anyone who passes out of the qualification does not just talk about debits and credits and have the theoretical knowledge, but they are ready to have the communication skills that's required, and whatever the employers are looking for in their candidate. And I think that's what's most interesting about these qualifications, CIMA qualifications. I mean, my last few papers I've taken online myself. My case study exam was online as well. And the fact that it gives me the flexibility to take my exams when I want it, when I feel I'm prepared for it, and I have 48 hours gap to decide whether I won't even change my date, whether I'm exam ready for that examination, is just one way we can say that technology has played such a huge role in making sure that we can actually use the technology to the best of its benefits. That's what I think about COVID-19 and how it's impacting all of us. When it comes to ISE and my experience with ISE, I started off, I think we were one among the first few batches at ISE, and I don't know if the right word is fun-filled. I've never found studying at ISE to be, oh my goodness, I'm taking up a huge qualification and it's going to be a lot of hard work. There is a lot of element of hard work involved, but then like Abel rightly mentioned, there's been plenty of platforms where you can showcase other skills as well, and where things like Ashra, for example, we had a CIMA case study competition, and IC is never short of any of giving students the opportunity to take up these opportunities. And I think that's what has helped me to get to where, I mean, I don't think I've got to a huge success in my career, but wherever I am at the moment, and this has helped me. So a combination of having a professional qualification in hand and to be able to use these kind of platforms, a combination of this has helped me to get to where I am at the moment, or probably confidently speak up and express my views and thought points on any scenario, for example. And I can just probably touch base on one of my greatest achievements at ISE, where we had a CIMA case study competition, and just for to help out, I remember ISE got us the four of us in the team to speak to Mr. Chandrasekhar Vakil, who was at that time the CFO of Crown Plaza. Remember, as very small kids, going into Crown Plaza, into that massive conference hall, and being able to speak about our thoughts on how on the topic of that day. But it's platforms like that probably my advice to students as well. Please take up these opportunities, because at the end of the day, it's difficult to get your first job. That's the starting point, is what's difficult. And to be able to say to your employer, see, there are 10 people coming in for the interview, but you need to pick me because I've got this one thing that nobody else has. And to be able to point that out and say, this is what makes me different, is how you can stand out and prove to be effective, is what I think. So this is, and in terms of exam techniques and stuff like that, these kind of things help as well. You learn time management when you do competitions like this, etc. So persistence is key. Make sure until you pass that final paper, you maintain the same persistence as when you did your first CIMA, ACCA, or any professional qualification paper. Until you reach there, keep the same level of persistence, and I'm sure like all of the other alumni will agree with me, the moment you complete your qualification, you're a level ahead already, and it helps you to go a long way. Thank you.
Wonderful, Prema. Thank you. Thanks a lot for sharing your wonderful thoughts. And happy to note that, like Abel, you're also able to make early strides into your career. And that is what we need to showcase to today's students, that on one hand, we need to look up to people who are experienced and gain from their insights into their ability to look into future with a mind of vision and mind of visionary. On the other hand, we need to listen to the young guns who have entered into this corporate world with all kinds of required knowledge. I now invite Abdul Fazil, another alumni of ISC, to give his views on the topic. But before that, I'm very much mindful of the time. So I just wanted Bindu to check if we can, extend the time a bit. So Abdul Fadil, please. Please unmute yourself and talk. Unmute yourself, Abdul.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah. Well, I'm having an accounting background, and I started my career in ISC in the year 2013, after getting graduated from Rajagiri College. Later on, I moved to ISC for joining ACCA, and after a few papers, I think fundamental level, I secured global rank and all India rank for paper F4, that is International and Business Law. Then I started working at EY after completing 7 papers of ACCA. At that time, ACCA was much demanding for the professionals to get hired in EY and all. Then for me, what the value of ACCA for my career, for me, ACCA membership is about being a member of a globally recognized body, a well-known network of professionals, which provides me the right platform to share experience and to meet on a regular basis. And one thing which I want to share to the upcoming generation, like if you want to become something exceptional, pursue your career with ACCA to get ahead of competition. Obviously, it will be your career to your passport. And one more advice which I have to share with the upcoming generation who have pursuing the careers in accounting or financial, start working along with your work, studies. Like after completing your FLL papers, get acquainted with the corporate culture, enhance your skills, upgrade your skills, and try to meet the PER requirements. That is a practical experience requirement for ACCA. So if you are doing so, you will be you will be able to complete your PER requirement. At the same time, you will be able to get the membership of ACCA as well. So coming to UAE, the scenario, the outbreak of COVID-19, the 5 points which I want to ponder is like there was a shift in the accounting, the way the accounting activities being delivered to the clients. Like for example, there has been a massive drift to cloud-based accounting, like cloud. I feel like the cloud-based accounting will be the future of accounting industry. Like as we know, there are online document management, like online client portals and the platforms which will offer virtual collaboration with the clients. And second thing is will be the new trend which I observe is the online client onboarding process. Rather than conducting the visiting the client site, we have been going through the like conducting virtual meetings. And there has been so many virtual collaborations as well ongoing, as we have the Zoom app or the QuickBooks, like so many digitalized accounting service has been started nowadays here to provide the client services much more easier and flexible. And business also having this continuity plan in order to to have build effective remote teams to ensure that the work is not being interrupted, which for that they have flexible working hours, like working from home, and like implementing alternative work shifts like that. So I have also seen there's changes in roles and functions due to the advancement of these digital skills like the artificial intelligence, data analytics. There has been a great changes in the roles and functions of the accountant. What the accountants has been for the past is not being changed now. They have to be adapt with the new technology. They have to get acquainted with the new skills. So rather than focusing on the purely on the accounting activities, you should adapt, you should learn, you should upgrade the skill. That's it from my point.
A lot. Thank you very much, Abdul Fazil, for the lovely insights and bringing perspective from another part of the world. I mean, Abel and Prema spoke about from the European angle. You provided insights from the perspective of the Middle East, and it is nice to know that the digitization process has done a lot to change the way accounting profession is today also working and likely to continue the same way in the coming future. I would now like to invite last of our alumni.
May I interrupt for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
I would like to check with the panelists if they're okay to continue for 15 more minutes, please, because we said the time slot was between 3:30 and 4:30. So maybe take 15 more minutes if it's okay with you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. We may continue, sir. Yeah, please.
Yes. So last of our alumni for the discussion today, and that is Syed Mohammed. So Syed, please share your experiences and enlighten the crowd with your ideas.
Okay, thank you, Milind, and thank you, IEC, for adding me to such a wonderful event at this evening. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, you are.
Am
Syed,
I audible?
You are.
Okay, thank you. Okay, okay. To start with, I would say that I have the much least experience from all others sitting in front of me, because I'm just into the careers. I just joined. I just did graduation the last year, and I did joined into corporate, or I get into corporate just after 2 months after my graduation. So I'm just 21, and all of a sudden EY is hiring me. EY is getting into me, and it was like a wonderful different feeling from that of the thing. And I would say that, of course, ACCA qualification is what that meant to get into corporate at the very early stage of this life. And to talk with, or to start with, I have been asked to tell how the post-COVID situation is affecting me and my career. I would say that at initial time, it was so challenging to me because I was just on my training period, and all of a sudden this COVID outbreak and this pandemic occurred, and it affected. But still then, the initial 1 2 weeks, they are being asked, because much before the lockdown occurred in our country, EY was asked to take work from home approach, as they are, I guess they are more concerned with the health of the employees. So from the initial stage onwards, they are promoting the work from home. And for me, for a student, for a graduate, a recent graduate and ACC student, for me it was tough or challenging for initial time, but then still I overcome, because after all, necessity is the mother of invention, they are told, right? And it was indeed a great experience doing things independently, because most of the things I haven't get training. We have been asked to do this, that. We become more independent at this time, and I would say that what holding a graduate degree and holding our ACCA and seeing things more, because ACCA got more practical things in its subjects. So I would say that it helped me a lot to do things independently in my work too. That's what I'm trying to convey here. And I don't see much challenges, like Abel and all that told me much challenges that we auditors. I'm in audit department in EY, and I don't feel any much challenges rather than other sectors of industries in our economy. Then to continue with my experience in ISC, I have done a different program in ISC. I'm graduated from BA Honors in International Business Finance from University of the West of Scotland. It was a great program to do ACCA in this campus, because the program is not just writing exams and just passing the papers, but still it had different innovative things and different programs, like everyone told. There has been more multidisciplinary activities, co-curricular activities going on with it, which helped us to shape our skills, not only in the thorough knowledge of the ACC or something like that, but still to presentation skills, communication skills, and various other skills. They have enrooted that thing. And also the faculty bunch or the faculty team over there, I would say that's rather very better. Even I have sat for this Milind sir's class. It was very pretty. I already able told. It was very happy for me. Then that's what I want to tell from my side. And I would recommend the students who are currently pursuing, or the people who are from the commerce background, would say that ACCA is the best key to get, because I would like to share one more experience, because after I get into the job, all of my friends are asking me, say, what are you doing? I will tell, I'm working. You're working at this young age. What's your qualification? I have done ACCA. Oh, great. What's that course? And there are more people get to know about this and something like that. Because at the age of 21, to get into corporate, even my friends, my relatives, family, everybody's asking me the same question. I feel myself something big, because I have taken a right decision. I felt like that. That's it. That's all from my side. I'm not extending much.
Well, thank you, Syed, and it was a wonderful insight into what at a very young age a person can achieve. And to that extent, I think the entire panel was such a wonderful, diverse kind of a panel to get to hear from various parts of the world, to people who are experienced in the range of 20 or more than 20 years, to a person who has started working just now. And one thing which is common in all the younger qualified people was their stint at ISC. And let me definitely confide with them and say that ISC is just not an institution. It's a launch pad. It's a platform for new people to come and join and launch their careers into very versatile kind of roles in their lives. Ren Raman and Nidhish Singh, three of you, I must appreciate the simplest manner in which you put it across, because these disciplines are highly technical, and it would have been difficult had we spoken from about 39,000 feet level, but it was very kind of you to have come down to the level of a aspiring professional, and throw light on how these careers are going to be built, building good future for them. So thanks a lot, and that's it from my side. I hand over to Bindu ma'am for question and answers. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. These are the questions which are posted by the audience. In fact, the first question would be to Mr. Nidhish Singh, but I'm not saying him here. So we would move on to Mr. Niranjan Raman. Mr. Raman, your question would be, it is expected that in the post-COVID-19 world, almost all administrative functions and service industry activities are expected to carry out by the functionaries staying in the respective homes. Will it increase the workload and responsibility of auditors?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. We briefly touched upon that in our discussion. Of course, it will impact the way the auditors work. I think there will be a lot of work which happens from home or from anywhere else outside, but I think there will be certain procedures and there will be certain amount of work which at the end of the day will have to be done by an auditor at the client site, which will be, like I mentioned earlier, verification of some of the assets, verification of some of the documents which necessarily have to be at the client premises. And also, let's not forget the fact that not all companies are on the same level or plane of digitization. So while there are some very large companies who are very capable and geared up for such a eventuality, there are still a lot of companies where, as auditors, we go and they would require our physical presence over there, and physical presence is required to see some of the documents and the information and for discussions. So given that context, I think there will be, I don't think the virtual audit is something which is going to happen forever, and it's not going to be an immediate change. But wherever it happens, I think it does bring in some amount of flexibility. Yes, there will be some challenges that the auditors will have to face. Typically, exercising professional skepticism can at times become a little more difficult in a virtual world than in a physical and a face-to-face world. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it will be. But yeah, the expectations and the pressure on auditors, I believe, will to some extent increase, and the profession will, I'm sure, get there and be able to face that need of the hour.
Thank you so much. And my, not mine, but the audience next question would be to Mr. Ren Verma. Ethical behavior, when you start with it actually, is currently considered as an imperative for the professional accountants of modern times. How should the accountants ensure ethical behavior?
Thank you, Bindu. That's a very excellent question, and I would say very relevant in the current times as well. So, professional accountants are regularly confronted with ethical choices and moral dilemmas in the course of their professional activities. And so all of us have opportunities to choose between right and wrong every day. So getting it wrong can have serious consequences, as we see in the press regularly. This could include loss of reputation, corporate failure, fines, or even it can lead to prison sentences as well. So different people approach ethical decisions from different points of view, and we must all accept that different cultures, for example, approach ethics in different ways. In any situation, Finance and accounting professionals must begin with laws of the country that they are operating in or living in. And you have to look at specific rules that govern that particular situation. For example, if you're an auditor, you'll be bound by the relevant auditing standards in your jurisdiction. Then as an accounting professional, you should consider the principles of your professional body, which form the basis of your professional ethics. At ACCA, our ethics and professional skills module is designed to provide students with the complete range of skills employers need. So we prepare students for a career as a trusted and confident finance professional. So the interactive online module places students in realistic business situations where they get an opportunity to develop advanced ethical, professional, and digital skills needed to perform well at the well and shine in the workplace, I would say. So ACC students and members are trained to hold ethics in high regard and behave in a manner that promotes value in the public interest. So when considering how ethical issues professional accountants face should be dealt with, a recent study that was done by IFAC shows that accountants should display and exercise moral courage, seek advice from peers, obviously adhere to the professional bodies regulations, report issues to management, exercise professional judgment. So there are so these are some of the actions that we can as professional accountants we can take, to ensure that we maintain these higher standards of ethics and professional judgment in the workplace. And before I conclude, I just wanted to say, it's been a fantastic opportunity, and this is a very relevant topic, and good. We've got a wonderful panel session. We've got Niranjan, Nidhish, and good to see some of the ACCA alumni. Who are very successful, and professional friend Abil, Abdul Syed, and of course Prima. Even though she's a SEMA qualified professional, but still, it's good to see all the ISC alumni performing so well. And I do agree with what Abil and the students have, alumni have said, because ISC, this is from my experience as a strategic partner, what I've experienced working closely with ISC, strategic partner in India, the kind of commitment and to quality and to ensure that they bring out the well-rounded professionals, and giving them an opportunity. It's not just about technical skills. When we're talking about the students who come out of ISC, I've seen that, they give that focus not just on technical skills, but on all areas, right from soft skills, bringing out the best in an individual. And it's not only that, in the past as well, with your SPL case study competition, you used to give that opportunity for students to come and visit UK, come and visit the ACC office, have a training there. So these are, and kudos and keep it up and well done. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. The next question would be to Milind sir. So tremendous development is witnessed in e-commerce and online business in the country. Do these sectors open opportunities for accounting professionals?
Again, a very, very relevant question for the modern times, no doubt about it. I think there is a lot of talk about the entire world economy getting into a recessionary trend. The jobs going to be lost. There are no new opportunities going to be available. I slightly differ with that pessimistic attitude. I feel that yes, if at all the job losses are going to be there, they are for the old age kind of jobs. But jobs are definitely going to be up for taking for the new kind of skill sets. And it is to that extent that professional accountants of modern times will do wonderfully well in the e-business modeling as such. And their role with the very strong accounting and financial technical background, coupled with the knowledge of technology, use of technology. I'm not talking about coding of programming levels, but use of technology. That is definitely going to give them a differentiated look, which will be considered by the industry as the best opportunity for them to grab jobs. So yes, as the number of e-commerce companies, number of web-based kind of models, and with fintech kind of technologies, although they are set to disrupt the world, but I think this disruption is going to bring a lot of new opportunities for the new students. So I'm quite hopeful that even if not immediately, I think in the next couple of years, the job opportunities, or even I would say not only jobs, even the career opportunities, the students who want to develop maybe some app-based startup in let us say a payment field, it is still going to they're still going to use their accounting knowledge, financial management knowledge, and technology to give themselves a good start in their own careers. So that's my take on the question of opportunities that are likely to be available in India for the e-commerce for finance professionals.
Thank you. So the base is going to be there, and then it's going to, things are going to
Yes.
get built on. Okay, yeah.
Sure,
Thank you so much.
Sure.
So I have the fourth question, but again, Mr. Nidhish is not here. So can I pose a question and someone can answer it?
Yeah,
is it
I think
okay?
you should pose. Let us see.
Sure, I will do that. The question is, will the accelerated technology development, especially in data analysis, robotics, and artificial intelligence, pose any threat to the accounting profession in future? Mr. Raman would like to answer.
Yeah, Bindu, I can go for it. So if I heard it right, the question is about the developments that are happening in artificial intelligence, robotics,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
the
Right.
digital world. How does it
Right.
impact? Is it a threat?
Right. Yeah. Is it going to be a threat? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. We've had several debates in several forums about this kind of a thought. I must say that um, it it could probably be to a very marginal extent. I mean, I'm not a doomsday person here to say that accounting profession will lose its relevance. But equally, I'm not somebody who's going to be very protective and say, hey, nobody can shake us. Right? So I think there is still going to be a lot of opportunity for the accounting profession, which one cannot deny. Because as I mentioned, there is only so much that robotics or artificial intelligence can do. They can do a lot of things, but there is only as much as they can do. It's going to be still very difficult for some of these, at least in the next decade or so, as I can probably think of, to become very capable or competent of exercising, human judgment. I know artificial intelligence is all about trying to replicate human intelligence into a machine, but there are limitations because there are a lot of factors beyond just facts and technical knowledge. As I think Prema mentioned, there is also a lot of the communication aspect. There is also a lot of emotional aspect which goes into the work of accountants and auditors. And I think it's a bit far-fetched to say that machines can take over human beings. But yes, there are some areas where there is a lot of mundane work that is happening, and those can be moved to bots. In fact, I know of audit firms, including PwC, who are already doing such things where if it's a very routine, mundane task, that can actually move over to a bot. And such things are happening in the industry as well. So while those things can happen, I think it's very important in the accounting profession. I think that's where the importance is in continuously keeping ourselves upskilled, so that one, we are learning how to use the technology and get more effective and efficient as accountants, and two, continue to do what we as human beings can do best, which is handling emotions and handling some of the native intelligence, as it may be called, which machines are still not equipped to do.
So even to replicate, we need good ones. That's a good way to put it across. Thank you so much. So, sir, I think we are moving to the end of the session.
If you don't mind me just adding a few points to that.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, artificial intelligence is a fairly new concept, and it's not got to an extent that all our jobs are going to go away straight away. It's very initial stages. To get to an extent that a lot of our jobs are taken away is a long way, probably a few generations away. And I think having the relevance of professional qualifications is making sure that it's not about debit what comes in, credit what goes out. That you apply to your employment, but skills beyond those things, that's more important. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, is there anything else to add on, or are we moving to the end of the session? Milind, sir?
No, I think fairly we have covered, and there were a couple of questions in the Q&A box which I have answered already to the respective participants. So I think we are done from our side. So you could, proceed to close.
So anything from the panelist side? Do we need to add on something on to? I think Mr. Ranjit is already, close to stop. Mr. Raman, would you like to add on anything to the session or to the
Nothing very specific, Bindu. I think it's been a great session. Thanks a lot again for having us here. It's time well spent on a Saturday afternoon, and look forward to staying connected with ISC. And
great.
Thank you. So thank you all for joining us today. We hope the participants found the session very informative and engaging, wherein the moderator and the panelist, I think, have covered almost all the major queries raised on the topic with a profound knowledge and the industry experience. Thank you, panelists and the moderator. Thank you, alumni, for joining us today and sharing your insights. Thank you, participants, for being with us this evening. All of you have a very great weekend, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.